This is Pop Culture Yearbook. On this show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss our memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I am Pete.
And I'm Giff.
Oh, you guys are being serious tonight, right?
We are. That's what
Serious.
you said. We got to be serious.
Yeah.
Take it more
You
seriously.
took it literally. And we are doing a
course.
serious topic tonight.
Yeah, it is.
So, anything you want to say before we start? We didn't talk about it.
I didn't really know what this movie was about.
Oh, I wasn't talking
Well,
about
I
that. I'm
was.
talking about like shout outs or random
Oh,
nonsense.
never mind. Okay, I went off script. Sorry. Nope, no shout outs.
Nope. Okay. GIF.
I'm not appreciative of anybody.
Well, I'm appreciative of all the other independent podcasts that promote us, and thank you for listening and helping us out. So thank you.
Yes.
Shout
well,
out.
let's name them quick then, since I brought it up. So there's Children of the 80s. They're wonderful people.
Mm-hmm.
There's Totally 80s 90s Recall.
Yep.
There's, of course, Surely You Can't Be Serious,
Shirley.
the gold standard.
Oh,
Yes.
I love them.
There's the mixtape. There is a new one.
Hold on.
that,
Let's give the full name. It's My Weekly Mixtape.
No, I'm
So
talking
that if
about
some-
one called The Mixtape that's promoted us before.
Oh, it's a different
Oh,
one. I
that's
thought you were
right.
talking
Yeah.
about My Weekly.
I was-
Is there
I
another
was-
good
we
one?
played
Right.
their promo and they played ours.
Oh yes,
Oh,
yes.
I thought you were talking about. Okay. Sorry.
There is also My Weekly Mixtape.
Yes.
But and we love them too. So
And
shout out for both of them.
a new one just kind of popped up recently that was involved in our things online. It's called Cartoon Commotion. So I'm gonna have to check
Oh.
that one out coming up here too.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, you like cartoons, Pete, so
I love cartoons.
you might want to listen to that one.
Pete's
Yep.
a bit cartoonish himself.
Trying to remember if
Okay.
I forgot anybody. Oh, the Soundtrack Your Life. We of course like them. They had me on. We had Ryan on.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Anybody else? Oh, Generation Rewind. I almost forgot. I knew there was one I was not thinking of. Generation Rewind. A guy named Sean. He's wonderful. He's always promoting. And he has new podcast as well now called Podtent. That I heard the first episode of that the other day. So I want to throw out those. So that's all our family out
Excellent.
there. Oh, and yeah, those are the big ones. And then there's also another great listener that listens to us that I want to point out because he's got a great podcast voice and I love him. And that is Beer in Front with Dave Zalatoris.
How
Dave's
would you
not here.
describe his podcast voice? You said it was great.
It's
what makes it
mellifluous.
great?
It's soothing.
Ooh,
It's just so
mellifluous.
calm, and he just
Okay.
you know it's just he's got the voice made for it. I love it.
All right. I'm going to try and replicate that voice
No,
during this
no,
episode.
You're not doing
Oh,
it. You're just
okay.
All right. Well, there
All
you
right.
go. That's a lot of people. We love them, and if you're looking for something new, check them out. But listen to us still too, please.
Yes, please
So
listen.
tonight we're going to get into the next topic of 2014, and when I looked at the list of topics, it was an easy pick for me. So, of the three of us, I am the only one who ever reads a book. That sounds
This is
like
true.
correct. Okay, so
Yep.
Well, sure.
I am
But
an English
I do a
teacher.
lot of Wordle though. But anyway.
Oh, okay. We'll do an episode on that. But this is the year a movie came out based on one of my just favorite books. So Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. You might know her also. She wrote Sharp Objects, which I think you watched that show, Gifford.
I did indeed.
It was on
Yes.
HBO. And she also wrote a book called Dark Places. But Gone Girl was like the big one that took everybody by storm. I loved that book. I could not put it down. That is one of the most fun times I've ever had reading a book. The only one I can think of that kind of rivaled that because, it was a big book and I was into it kind of at the time where it was pretty big was way back when the Da Vinci Code came out, because of course that was a big deal as well. But this book was so good. The characters were amazing. The plot is it's bonkers. I was thinking about it before we got on. It's so unbelievable in so many ways, yet it's also so believable. And I think that's what kind of draws me to it. Like, you can't believe any of this would really happen, but yet it makes sense. And you could see this happening in a way at the same time. There's so
Okay.
many twists.
Mhm.
So many twists. There's a bonkers ending, which we'll get to.
I was
And
going to
so,
say it seems a little bit beyond believable. I mean,
why? Well, we'll get to that later.
Okay.
So when they announced they were making a movie, I got really excited. And especially because it had such a top-notch cast and director. So before I give our synopsis, why don't we run through the main people in this movie?
Mhm.
Okay, so the director is David Fincher.
Yes.
Pete, I think one of your favorite movies is the movie Seven. Am
Oh
I right?
yeah, I love that movie. That's
Okay,
right.
That's David
You-
Fincher.
You know your Pete trivia.
Yeah, he also made Zodiac, The Social Network, Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, Panic Room, which great role by Dwight Yoakam,
Yep.
and Fight Club. And then he's also made many, many, many music videos way back in the past too. I think if I remember right, Madonna was one of his main people that he liked.
Any Dwight Yoakam videos?
I don't.
That's what I want to know. We should look that up.
So David Fincher is a top-notch director. People love him. The Social Network was another huge hit recently, not long before this came out. So,
Right. But this is still, I believe, his highest grossing film.
is it number
Yeah.
one? I did not look at that.
Really?
Yep. 369 mil at the box office.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because like Seven and Fight Club, they're like big, but they're more like cult classics almost. I mean, they were
Yep.
big, but yet if you look at the box office, I don't think they were big at the time in the movie theater.
Mhm.
But I
But they-
thought Social Network was a pretty.
Well,
Pretty
that one
good
was
one.
probably.
Pretty good.
I bet that one's pretty high up there.
You know what? I'm
Yeah.
going to look that up.
I bet Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is one of his higher ones as well. I have not actually seen that.
It's not too shabby. I mean,
Okay.
there's some rough stuff in there, obviously, but
Or actually, I bet Panic Room is one of the highest as far as box office. I bet
Social
that was one of
Network
the
was
highest.
just shy of 225. So this one far eclipsed that.
So you said $369 million?
Yeah, 369.
Wow.
Damn.
That is big.
Yep. Yeah, that's way the hell up there.
Okay, so that's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
So he or they got Ben Affleck to play the lead male in this movie, and he's such a perfect casting choice because he's playing a character that at times you kind of root for him, but he's such a sleaze and he's just such an idiot. And who can play a role like that better than Ben Affleck?
That's almost exactly what I was going to say, because I'm not a huge Ben Affleck fan. I don't really like him in a lot of his stuff because of that reason. He comes across as smug.
Yeah.
And that seems like he's probably a perfectly nice guy, but that's who he comes across as. But this character that's in the movie is exactly, how he comes across in real life to me. So,
Yeah.
which is why usually I don't like him, but he was perfect for this role.
He's got his positive characteristics, but he's plenty much to blame, and you don't really feel bad for him at the end, I don't think, either, when we get to that.
Well, yeah, there's
No.
not a lot of characters in this movie that you're really
That's
pulling
true.
for.
No, I think I'll get to
The
there's
main
one-
characters.
There's one that you like.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
about it.
Yeah.
So before we get
one.
to
Are we going
her-
to say the same one? Yeah, it's a her.
The main, but I'm not getting to her yet because I'm going to do the main female
Yes.
role, which is Rosamund Pike, who plays Amy, Ben Affleck's wife, and she was nominated for Best Actress for this
Yes, she
movie,
was.
and mighty well-earned nomination.
Both Oscar and Golden Globe.
And she is somebody who I've seen in a few things, but not in a lot. And I just got to say, she does a great job with acting. Her look in this movie is one of the just most attractive, prettiest women I have ever seen in my entire life. At the end, when she comes back, and I mean, after she gets all the blood cleaned off her, I mean, she is just stunning to look at. And what a perfect casting for this, too, because she's a great actress. And I think the fact that maybe she isn't like a huge star, especially at the time, might have helped that a little bit as well. So that's my view on Rosamund Pike. I know, Gifford, you watched that show, or was it a movie? I Care a Lot.
I Care a Lot. And if you think she's detestable in this movie, go and watch her in I Care a Lot. And again, I always say that any actor or actress that can elicit such a powerful negative response, not just a positive, but negative response, is obviously very talented at what they're doing. Again, like Brad said or Pete said with Ben Affleck, probably a really nice guy, great dude, but you kind of, don't feel great for him in this movie. Rosamund Pike, I'm sure she's a lovely, lovely person, but man, does she she does a great job of playing these characters that you really just hate. You know,
and
and
these
she's
two are
just great at it.
made for each other in this movie.
Yes, they are.
All right, so the next person in this movie is the one character I think who is likable and savable. Pete, who's that?
The sister.
Yes, so Carrie
I don't
Coon
know, Margot.
plays Margot, Ben Affleck's sister, and she is on a show that we just talked about last week.
Mhm.
She was on one of the Fargo seasons. Season 2, that's what I thought.
I think.
And
yeah, I think
she is another person who's popped up a lot since this movie. This is
Mhm.
kind of, I think, her biggest break, but she's another great actress, and she's the one person you actually feel for, I think, at the end of this movie. She definitely takes the brunt of it unfairly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where the
Absolutely.
rest she had nothing to do with anything.
She was just being supportive. She was very supportive, and she was trying to push for him to do the right thing. And he could go talk to her. She would try and help him out as much as she could. But when she found out that he was doing some sleazy things, then she put her foot down and said what was on her mind. So,
well, and I
yeah,
think
it was good.
she's a good example of what, well, they're twins, first off. So, I mean, they have a very, very close
Yes,
bond.
that does make for a very interesting dynamic between
Even
two.
more so than maybe just siblings, but twins. But she, I think, is a good example of what unconditional love really looks like. Even though she's extremely upset with her brother when she finds out certain things, she's still there to support him. She's still in his corner. And you do feel for her coming through this. One of the other characters I liked, I like Margot as well, but the Detective Rhonda, played by Kim
Oh,
Dickens.
yeah.
I thought she was great.
I don't have her on here, I guess, because she wasn't as big of a name, but yeah,
No.
she does a great job, and she is likable as well. Because
Yeah,
you can see how
she's
she's
more.
conflicted out.
Yeah, she's more likable as the movie goes on.
Well,
Yeah,
it's just a
because-
matter of fact. Like, she doesn't want to jump to any conclusions on anything. She just does the work, tries to figure everything out, even when everybody else is going, hog wild on, you got to lock this guy up. He definitely did it. Da 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 da. She's just calm. She, steady at the helm and just does her work. And
it's probably. Oh, sorry. I was
No,
just
go
going to
ahead.
say it's probably that she doesn't change throughout the movie. I say she becomes more likable, but it's that at the beginning of it, she's very suspicious of him, and at
Right.
the beginning, he's the protagonist and he's the hero early on. And so you like him, but then as you find out more and more, it's like you start cheering for her more to arrest him, and all that stuff.
All right, running through the rest of the supporting cast, many more big names. You got Tyler Perry as the high-powered attorney who specializes in sleazebag husbands.
Yep.
He's great. You got
Yep.
Neil Patrick Harris. We've talked about How I Met Your Mother on this show, playing definitely a different type of character for him from what you might be used to most of the time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Sella Ward is in this movie, and she is most famous to me from The Fugitive because she is the one he says, "I did not kill my wife." That is Harrison Ford's wife in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
You got Casey Wilson, who was on season or 2 of Saturday Night Live and the show Happy Endings as kind of a crazy neighbor.
Yep.
The famous from Robin Thicke videos, Emily Ratajkowski,
Yes.
playing right to her type in this movie.
Yeah. Well,
Yes,
and that was one thing I was thinking about. Like, so obviously, we're going to talk about it, but she comes into this film as the person that Nick, Ben Affleck's character, is cheating with on his wife. And I just thought that I see stuff online where, Emily is considered the most beautiful woman in the world. As her face
Like in
is
real life.
perfectly, in real life, like perfectly symmetrical face, all these scientific,
That's not all that's symmetrical.
But what I'm saying is, if you're going to cheat on your wife, this is the person that they have him cheat with. It's not like Becky from Walmart cashier. It's this perfect specimen of a woman. It's like,
Now hold on 1 second. We
So you're saying that
apologize. We
shouldn't cheat with
apologize
her?
if you're a listener and your name is Becky and you happen to work at Walmart.
yeah, sorry. What were you going to say, Brad?
you're saying that he shouldn't have cheated with her? I don't get it. Like, she's the perfect person for him to succumb
No,
to.
what I'm
If you're
saying
gonna
is,
do it,
this is who they cast
that's
in
what
this
he said.
role as the young minx for him to fall for. It's like, well, of course, it just happens to be, the most beautiful woman in the world. Yeah, I kind of see it.
All right, and then one of the producers in this movie that I didn't realize is Reese Witherspoon. So that was my last big name that I had listed here as well.
And Reese was originally brought into this project early on, and she was supposed to be Amy originally.
Oh, was she going to maybe play that?
Yep. Yeah, so she stayed on as a producer.
I wonder how she would do in that role. That'd be interesting because
I think
she doesn't
kill it.
Yeah, I bet she could, but she never really plays like that kind of dark. Like, she is about as wonderful a person as it gets in most of her roles.
But she would have been absolutely great. One thing I thought was interesting is that our author in this was
Gillian Flynn.
Gillian Flynn was also the screenwriter for the movie, which is extremely rare. And she was also so we got Fincher got a Golden Globe nom for directing, and she got a nomination for adapted screenplay. It's kind of interesting where you have the author actually doing the screenplay as well.
There you go. But yeah, only one Oscar nomination, which I found kind of interesting. I thought there would be a couple others, like maybe for the writing or something.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anybody else in the cast you want to throw out before I tell you what this movie's about?
No, I think.
Did I miss anybody?
No, not as far as big names. I don't think. I think you're good.
All right. So here we go. I'm going to read through this, and then we're going to break the movie into 3 parts and talk about what we liked about it. David Fincher's star-studded adaptation of the popular novel Gone Girl starts with brother and sister Nick and Margot talking in a bar that they own in Missouri. We learn it is his anniversary with his wife, Amy, and there are flashbacks to when they met cute in New York City years earlier. Each current anniversary is celebrated with a scavenger hunt Amy puts together for Nick, and oh, what a hunt this year's edition is going to be. When Nick arrives home, he finds signs of a struggle, and Amy is missing. When the cops arrive, more details are filled in, such as Amy being the subject of a popular children's book series that her parents created and got filthy rich off of. We also find that she has long resented these books as they actually chronicled things that she did not do instead of her real accomplishments. The use of flashbacks is used throughout the first half of this movie to tell the story of Nick and Amy and their history. As the cops start digging into the scene, Nick can't help himself from looking a little guilty and a lot weird. He smiles in a picture at the announcement of Amy's disappearance and takes a selfie with another woman. At the same time, there have been many stalkers and weirdos in Amy's past that could have been persons of interest as well. As the clues are revealed, they weave a web that seems to be a trap for Nick. The cops find some clues. Nick hides others, but as they add up, he looks worse and worse. And while we know the marriage had issues, it turns out Nick is having an affair with a young student Margot lovingly refers to as Super Twat. Just as it looks like there is no way out for Nick, at this point, the only thing saving him is the lack of a body. It is revealed to the audience that Amy is indeed alive. She set it all up, took off, altered her appearance, and is living anonymously somewhere a few hours away. So now instead of the flashbacks, we have scenes going back and forth in the present showing Nick's continuing problems. He has since now hired a high-powered attorney known for helping bad husbands, and Amy in her new life where she is waiting for it all to come down on Nick, gaining her the ultimate satisfaction, which she will celebrate by killing herself. Meanwhile, Nick and Margot have figured out that Amy must be alive. He decides his best chance to clear his name is to try to draw her back home. After losing her money, Amy ends up with one of her former lovers, who is a total creep. She sees Nick on TV saying all the right things and concocts a new story of her heroic survival in the face of a demented kidnapper rapist to return to her loving husband. Arriving home limping and covered in blood, Amy hugs Nick. While he no longer has to worry about legal issues, he now has to figure out how to handle his wife again, who has tried to frame him and whom he clearly wants nothing to do with. To cut to the chase, Amy ends up pregnant, and the two are stuck together seemingly forever in the unhappiest happy ending imaginable.
Well done.
Thank you.
Kind of sad now.
Oh, my word.
No, you're not sad at the end of this. It's the feelings are just...
Yeah, there's a lot of feelings.
I mean, I just like... When I first saw this movie at the end, I was like, God, that's a great ending. I loved it. I was smiling. I'm like, it's so dark, yet, again, so realistic at the same time. Like, it's just such a... It's very bad, but it's like such a... dark way to look at marriage, like the fact that these two have to stay together and that they have to be intertwined, even though they hate each other.
Well, as Nick puts it at the end of the movie, we resent each other and cause each other pain. Why would you want to stay around? And she goes, "That's marriage." It's like, ooh,
Yep,
I don't.
That's the line
no.
right there.
No, I don't think so, sweetheart. So
I didn't really know what the movie was about going into it. I'd heard of it, but didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But early on, it started out, like fun. They're playing board games, right? They the first one, he brought her the Mastermind game, which is a big game in our family. We play that. We play that a lot. And then they were playing the game of life, and then a few other references later. And so that was fun. But it was a metaphor for the larger game of life that was going on.
Oh, wow.
And
Good foreshadowing.
And the mastermind, yes.
Mm-hmm. So I love this movie. So we're gonna break it up, like Brad said, maybe in three parts.
Right now we're
here,
going to talk about the first act up until the big reveal that she is indeed alive. Which, if you hadn't read it, or you might not have realized that, you might have thought she was actually dead.
And then we're going to cover the second act where she's on her own, and then the last act where she comes back. So for me, this movie is I absolutely love it. I love it's kind of a caper because one, we've got a scavenger hunt, so we got clues to try to figure out. That's fun.
It weaves the web.
And so it's awesome to watch this first. It's a full hour before you find out that Amy is in fact alive.
Right.
So that first act, that first part is just awesome because he's scrambling. He's trying to figure out what's going on. Obviously, everything points to him because she's set it all up. And then the second act, a lot of fun too, because she's kind of getting some comeuppance and you're trying to figure out, how she's going to make this work, which is awesome. And then that third act, when they get back together, it's just like, oh my God, how is this going to finally come to an end? So
you mentioned it's a full hour into it, and it is a long movie. It's 2 hours and 26 minutes or something like that. You know what I was thinking about?
Guess what? I loved it. So there's another mark in my favorite that I don't hate everything long.
But I wonder if that was partly because of what you had mentioned earlier, is that most movies are not written by the screenplay is not written by the author. And I think when it is, the author wants to make sure that they include the details that they have envisioned and making it a longer movie because of it, but it was still good.
Yeah.
Usually when an author turns it over to a normal movie screenwriter, they're going to edit more out than they probably did in this movie. I don't know, just a theory.
And it's interesting that you mentioned she's not even alive till an hour in. But they did such a good job of her presence is there the whole time with all the flashbacks. It's like, I mean, she is in every scene basically, pretty much. And she has such a big presence over everything, even though all we're seeing her is in these flashbacks from before and what people are saying about her in the present.
Yeah. Right. You never actually see her at all in the present day, do you? Until you see her driving down the road in that car.
And we flash. So the end of this first part, how far gone? How long has she been gone? Is it like 21 days or something?
Oh, I don't remember.
Well,
no.
Here's one thing though that I had written down about the movie is that all of this happens. Most of it happens within like 4 days or something like that. It's a ridiculously short amount of time that this all happens.
It's like Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, because but it tells you at the bottom of the screen, it's like 3 days after disappearance, right?
3 days gone, 4 days gone.
Yeah, something like that.
But then there's time that passes after we know she's alive. It does spread out too.
Yeah, it does. When she's with Neil Patrick Harris, then now it's like 28 days or something. Yeah. Still not a very long time though for all of this.
It's 21 days back when she's finally back to herself, as he likes to put it. But I like when they bring her in for the second act, they start back over on July 5th. As she's driving out of town. Now we're going to see her side of what's going on.
And I love that kind of thing.
It's happening concurrently to everything that you saw in the first part with Ben Affleck.
That kind of storytelling is right up my alley.
Yeah. So as Brad put it in his synopsis, Amy is dealing with some trauma from her childhood. So
Yes.
she is an only child, and her parents have made their fortune selling Amazing Amy books. So everything in her, it's not about her life, it's about a better version of her life. So they're trying to actually create their daughter the way they would maybe like to see her, and then selling that to the masses. So that's going to really mess with your head. And then on top of it, she in turn gets, media attention from it, because every time a book comes out, she needs to be at the the drop of this book. So she likes that media attention, even if it's for the wrong reasons. And I think that kind of carries through this movie and maybe influences her decisions throughout. But she is starting off with some deficits, if you will, and I think that has kind of has an ingredient into making her into the person she is.
Kind of plays into why she has, you could call it multiple personalities, right? And so, I don't know, I'm not a psychiatrist or whatever, but she could be like bipolar because of that, because she's living this fake life that her parents made up for her and who she actually is. And as she gets into her marriage, she's a total psychotic bitch, basically. And also she's, the other side of her is that she's loving and she wants him, and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, that's what's interesting. I don't know. So there's this history of her with these other guys too, which isn't really developed all that fully, where it sounds like she has done these like really horrible things in the past.
Right.
But with Ben Affleck, it seems like she's found the one that she she didn't plan to do anything to him. Like, she was really in love with him and they were going to last. So I don't think she was psychotic to him until things started to go.
It all came down to
she found out that he was having an affair.
Right.
I think it all comes down to, like, you see them on their second anniversary and they're having the scavenger hunt and they could not be happier. I mean, they get each other the same sets of
we're so
sheep.
They're having all kinds of wild sex.
Right.
We're so cute. I want to punch us in the face.
Right.
That's a great line.
I mean, they have a great start to their life together, and then of course Nick's mom gets sick. They need to move back to Missouri. They've already lost their jobs because there's a recession, so there's not money coming in. That security's gone. Obviously, any marriage is going to have a tough time when there's money issues.
It all comes down to money.
Well, and then they move back to his hometown. She's lost her social network. She's kind of isolated and alone, and he's off doing his thing, and he's not really motivated to do anything. So from their second anniversary to now, 3 years later, their fifth anniversary, they've had a major life change, money issues, and everything's just really gone sideways. And it's just it's hard to think you could go that quickly in 3 years, but I think with the major changes they went through, it's understandable.
Yeah, it's the moving and everything, and she wants to be in New York. I love, so when they first meet, I wrote this little exchange, it made me laugh. She comes up to him at this party and says, "They already relieved me of my artisanal meat platter." And he goes, "Finally, somebody to tell me how to pronounce that word." And she goes, "Meat?"
Right. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
And from there, they just get cuter and cuter until she says that line, "We're so cute, I want to punch us in the face." And they really do have like a storybook beginning to their relationship.
Yeah. I like the part where they're together, I think the first night, and they go back to one of their houses, and there is some hanky-panky happening. And while this is happening, she looks at him and goes, "I really like you." It's like, well, of course you like him, considering the act that he's performing on you right now. But I just thought that was hilarious how they put that in. Like, why do you have to have that in there?
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's cute. It's funny.
And we flash back and forth. And so then we also get the other side. They're at the bar, and Margot finds out the present is wood for your 5-year anniversary. And she says that he should go have sex with her and then slap her in the face and say, "There's some wood for you, bitch."
Right.
So Margot is right away with her dirty mouth, and
Margot's definitely not a fan.
They've got that really great brother-sister relationship. Kind of shows the bond between them.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, you kind of mentioned all the other things here about that, all the problems they had to go through that brought them back to Missouri. I do love, I said it in my synopsis, but I do love when the sister finds out about the affair and he has this underwear and he says, "Are they super twats?" That's such a great name.
I love the part where they're having this discussion and basically he's admitting that they've had sex in his office in her woodshed. And he goes, well, our options are pretty limited. And she goes, well, go to a hotel. He goes, well, Amy would have seen the receipt. She goes, well, put it on her credit card. He goes, all her credit card statements go to her parents. And her response is just, ew.
Yeah, and the parents have all this money that it's this trust fund, but it's all tied up and like they have no access to it. And that's just so many things going on. And she's obviously not close with them. And they're back to help find her and acting all concerned, but they're not good people either. Everybody just kind of
right.
Everybody has their faults.
And the other thing too is I think what I liked about the character of Nick here is he doesn't know what's going on. He has no clue where his wife is. He's going, I mean, he's really having a hard time. So like in the press conference, when he smiles, like, I think it's it's sheer nervousness. He's in absolute hell. He doesn't know what's going on. It just kind of comes out. He doesn't
do anything
favors. He does not do himself any favors.
No, he doesn't do himself any favors, but who knows how to act when their wife has been, abducted. She's just gone and all these people are here and it's a big deal. And you're trying to,
and by the way, the morning of the disappearance was when he was going to officially go to her and say that he wants a divorce.
Yeah.
So he was going to, even though it had already been cheating. I mean, he was going to like confront it and then, they would have moved on hopefully, but that she didn't give him a chance to do that.
No. She likes to teach lessons.
Doesn't do himself any favors. It's like he's trying to do his own investigation in parallel to the actual police investigation. And so it's like when he misleads the cops, and he also, it's like the little things, like he knew what she meant by the little brown house. And he's like kind of shooing the cops away by saying, well, this is obviously not a brown house, it's a blue house. Right. And but he knows where the clues are leading. But
he knows that she's setting him up. He catches on pretty damn quick. Because at first he's like, well, do I need a lawyer? I mean, this is no big deal. Like, I have nothing to do with anything. But he figures it out after about the second clue when the underwear are in his office. And he figures that out pretty quick that, I'm not safe here. Like, this is not going to go well in my favor.
Mm-hmm.
So the big thing at the end of the first act is the cops find this journal that she's been writing, which is not written at the time of it. She's been putting that together over the recent months, I suppose it was. But it lays out this whole tortured history of abuse and all these things he's done, and it definitely points the finger. And when they find that journal, and then Nick finds the stash of stuff that she used a credit card for in the woodshed at the same time. I mean, this is great direction by a great director. The music is going on. It is like so creepy. And it's like, that scene is awesome. And you can tell this is the end of a very important moment. And then all of a sudden we're out on the highway in the sun and she's driving and everything changes. Yep. So it's fantastic. So now we're on to Act 2, unless I missed something there.
No, I think we're good. I love her first line that she says, I'm so much happier now that I'm dead.
Yeah. Well, and that is, again, her ultimate plan is that once he is taken in and gets what's coming to him, she is going to drown herself and die and disappear. And
which, again, doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, she's not a happy person. She clearly has a lot of
mental issues
that she's dealing with.
And her justification for this is that he needs to be, because Missouri has a death penalty. So of course he'll be convicted. He'll get the death penalty, and he deserves that because in her mind, he murdered her. He took her dignity by cheating on her. He took her identity by taking her out of New York and turning her into the cool girl who drinks beer and hangs out and watches the game. She's game for anything. And she just made herself into what she thought he wanted and just completely forsaken anything she was her own identity. So he murdered her, so he deserves the same fate.
So while she's waiting, we see her set herself up at this cheap, kind of little out of the way place, and we meet a couple of these neighbors, this young girl and kind of a creepy boyfriend that they're not really together. You can't really tell, but they're your typical, if you want to get stereotypical, redneck people that you don't trust and clearly set up to cause problems. But they form a bond at first, and like her and the other, I can't remember her name now, but they become kind of close, and she feels like this is maybe her new friend for a while.
She's definitely standoffish at first, though.
Yep.
And sitting out by the pool, she does not want to talk at all.
That's the thing. She lets her guard down, and that's the problem, is when she does that, then they take advantage of her and steal her money. Right. And
how great was that scene? How much did you love seeing her get all her money taken? I absolutely love that. It's like, yes, she finally, something doesn't go her way. She planned this out so perfectly. You see all the stuff where she figures out how to fake her own pregnancy using her idiot neighbor, and she figures out how to bleed all over the place and clean it up and frame you just do all this stuff. Everything's meticulously written down in a notebook. She's got all her post-its on her calendar, everything. She's got a perfect plan, and then this happens and everything goes out the window for her. She can't figure out, she's got to figure out a new way to operate because this isn't going to work anymore. She doesn't have that money.
So while we see all this happening to her, Nick finally decides, because he's about to get arrested, that he needs Tanner Bolt, the lawyer, Tyler Perry. He heads to New York, hires his services, which are not cheap, and he doesn't have a lot of money for it, but he's going to help him out.
I love his character, the Tyler.
Yeah. He's great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not really like what he does, but it's not like he's a bad guy. He's just, that's the job, and he's good at it. So he's not out to like be a bad person or anything.
No.
Right.
But he's definitely got an ego for what he does.
You have to in that job.
But while he's in New York, we see Nick run into a couple of these guys, or at least one of these guys that Amy had this history with, and find out that while we know he's not innocent now, neither is she. They both have done like horrible things in the past. And while she can blame him and her parents all she wants, the blame is plenty to go around for everybody.
Right. And you see this with the guy that she says raped her, and now he's going through this life of hell because he has to be a sex offender. He has to register as a sex offender.
Yep.
Can't get a decent job. And his story is basically she tried to take over his life, turn him into the person that she wanted him to be. So it's interesting to me. You see this throughout the film of her parents trying to project the perfect child. She figures out, okay, I got a man. I want to make him into the perfect person. He doesn't go for it. So she turns on him and accuses him of rape. And now he's screwed. And, he didn't do anything wrong either. So as he put it, when he saw the story, he goes, oh, she's graduated from rape to murder.
And so this is at the same time too where the public is starting to turn on Margot because they found all this stuff on her property, and they assume, well, she's the sister, she obviously helped him, she knows what's going on. And that's where it's at, because she really has no idea and has done nothing wrong at all. But public perception of her turns, and that's not good. But so Amy has to go find this Desi character, which is Neil Patrick Harris, who's been obsessed with her forever. And she reaches out to him to get a place because she has no money. So, and this guy, how did he get all his money? I mean, he's got a lake house, and it's like a motel.
I don't think it was ever revealed.
Well, these two met in boarding school. She had a trust fund. He probably comes from money himself, and it's just, that's the society that, these two grew up in their high school.
So he pretty much locks her up in that house to protect her, but also because no, he's saying that.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying his ultimate goal, though, is she's not getting away from him. He's going to have her.
Right.
And partly to get back at her, too, to get his own revenge, I think.
Well, and he does the thing where, he says, we need to get you back to look like yourself. He brings hair dye, makeup, make sure he has the clothes. So he's doing to her the same thing, like I'm trying to meld you into this person that I want you to be.
It's almost like a single white female type thing.
Yeah, and it's a perfect like two-sided discussion within himself that he's having, where he's telling her, "Hey, look, you're totally safe. There's all these cameras everywhere, and I can see everything." When, of course, what he's saying is, I'm watching you.
You can't get out.
Everything that I do. Yeah,
Yep.
but I'm going to make you think that it's there for your protection.
So again, another complete and utter horrible character in this movie. And I mean, I what he gets, he probably ultimately doesn't deserve, but you can understand, when he does get it, it's like, okay, yeah, you're a creep. You're trying to control
what
this
he
person.
got was pretty bad, to say. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. But so while she's staying with him, Tanner has convinced Nick to go on this big national TV show to try to state his case. But the whole plan is he's going to talk directly to Amy because he knows she's going to be watching, and he's going to try to draw her out. And this is the best acting in the movie, I think. Her reaction sitting there with that yogurt, watching him, and how she leans forward and her eyes, and it's just, and then he touches his lips on the show because that's the thing they do.
Covers his chin.
I mean, it is brilliant, and it is so fun to watch. It's just like masterclass, I think.
Yeah.
And it works. It works, of course, 100%. She's going to come home. But to do that, she has to get out of Desi's, and that's
and figure out a way to make herself the innocent person.
So
and
she uses a wine bottle and sets it all
we don't
up
need to go into that detail.
No.
On this show, but it
sets it all up that
something.
if once he's dead, it's going to be clear she did it in self-defense. And so in the diary at this point, they read it to Nick, and it ends with, "This man may kill me," and he says, "That's kind of convenient, don't you think?"
Right.
Which I think that's a great line too, because the diary, even when I read the book the first time, it always kind of threw me, because I'm like, wouldn't they be? Can't you determine age of something, or when? I know you can look at handwriting, of course, but it feels like if she wrote that all in the present, they would be able to tell that. There would be something that would.
I've never heard of that.
Am I not right?
Aging, penmanship, aging. That's kind of what you're going for.
Well, not the penmanship, but the actual, the product, the thing itself, with
that's what I'm saying.
DNA.
How old?
Come on. Anyway, they found
a
quote unquote murder weapon, which is from the Punch and Judy puppet, which was in his fireplace. There's still no body, but with a weapon and with blood, there's enough that basically sets it up that he's going to be arrested. But before that can happen, Amy has made her escape from Desi's. And this kill scene, though, is incredible. Again, it's not just the music playing, the blood in this scene, the blood on her, and how she's just continuing on. Oh, my God.
Well, she tries, she rolls him over, and she's trying to get it all over her. She's really trying to sell the whole thing. And again, I don't want to be too graphic here, but she waits to kill him after he finishes.
Right, because she needs that.
She needs that sample. So then she does it, and then of course she makes sure that the blood and she's wearing white. Notice she, when he comes home, she's got white on, so that's going to be more, dramatic when she does make her way back home as this innocent woman that's been abducted by the psychopath.
But we talk about a lot of horror movies in the past, and Gifford, you always talk about kill scenes. This is one of the most incredible kill scenes I've seen in a movie right here.
It was almost as bad as that time last month when Brad got killed.
Yeah,
that's what it reminded me of.
Little less blood in Brad's scene than this one, but yeah, almost.
All right, so she's escaped. All of a sudden, a car pulls up in the driveway, and out comes this limping, bloody mess. Walks right up to Nick and hugs him. And the first thing he says, he whispers in her ear because nobody can hear him, "You fucking bitch."
That was brilliant. I love
That's the welcome home, because he knows everything. They both know everything at this point, and it's just the cat and mouse between them is who's going to get away, who's going to figure it out.
This is the first time in the movie that these two are together in present time, without a flashback or something like that. This is the first time these two are seeing each other and talking to each other, and you just see the give and take between them and how much they just despise each other. And it's so amazing. And of course, right away, she says, get undressed. I need to make sure you're not wearing a wire. I mean, she is planning this thing out, like making sure that all her, I's are dotted, T's are crossed. Like she doesn't want to get caught in this lie that she's obviously
mastermind.
Which my thought was, though, if he is wearing a wire, wouldn't the cops have heard her say that line, and that itself would be incriminating?
I just thought of that right now when
Yeah.
Gifford said that. You're right.
Yeah. So here's the thing that drives me nuts, maybe the most about this last part of the this third act, is that when she does come back, none of the stuff that she did, or most of the stuff she did to set him up for her murder, makes any sense now. And obviously Detective Rhonda
What do you
knows
mean?
this.
All the stuff that he bought was because of his habit of. It's all been set up.
No, but the present was already out in the garage. She went to put the present out there without the club that was used to supposedly as the murder weapon. Why was that in the house when the Punch and Judy were over at Margot's place?
You're right, and I love this. The next scene is where the cops are questioning her, and you can tell that Boney is definitely not quite convinced at all of this. So I mean, I think she is, but again, Amy, being the brilliant mastermind she is, turns it right back around on her and basically shuts it down in front of everybody. Makes the cop look like the bad guy in the.
Well, what it is Boney's the only female in there. It's all these men sitting around, and they all are gonna, they want to be the knight in shining armor and the the empathetic one, so they want to not look like the bad guy. And here's this one woman detective who's actually been on this case since day one, knows all the details, and she smells bullshit right away coming out of Amy.
It's always the woman that's the good cop. I was thinking about that in Fargo too.
Fargo.
It's like always the woman is always the best cop.
Well, that's because women are always better people than men.
Well, that's
not
true.
always.
Very nice.
Well, not always, but look at the wars and history. Look at history.
No, I know, but we're talking specifically in this movie. Obviously, the biggest
that's
issue.
a good point.
Yes, is the woman. Yeah.
I don't know if you wrote down any lines. I described this as beautiful insanity, the ending to this movie. There's so much great music again. One of my favorite lines is where it was supposed that she was pregnant while she was missing. That's what the neighbor had it convinced. Yep. And I love when he goes, "Was there ever a baby?" And she's laying and she just pats her belly she pats the bed and says, "There can be."
Yeah, she's
like,
just
you're gonna just come over and have sex with me now.
Right. It's so, she says it so blithely. It's just like,
it's great.
Well, yeah, maybe, I faked killed a child and myself, but that's okay. Like, why don't we get busy here and make a baby? It's like,
but that ties into one of my other favorite lines is Tanner at the end goes up to Bo and says, "I swear you two are the most fucked up people I know, and I specialize in fuck ups."
Right. Right.
Oh, and he says to just to Nick, he says, "You may want to thank her, just don't piss her off."
Right. Yeah. Because obviously thank her for coming back so you don't get the chair, but she's the one who set him up in the first.
But don't piss her off anymore.
Well, you know what I was thinking? This thought just popped into my head. So the scene, going back to the scene where he's on TV and she's watching and she's eating the yogurt and she falls back in love with him. Does she really, though, or is she playing the game and now she knows that it's her move? And she just cannot be beaten at her own game.
I think she does fall back in love with him because she says that when she comes back, that this was the Nick that I married. This was the guy. This is the one that I want to spend my time.
I don't know though.
Yeah.
I think it's the cat and mouse game, like you said, and I think that's why there's the parallel between the board games. I think that there's you might be
He's
right.
He's about to be arrested and sent to the chair, so she already won. She could have escaped from Desi later and done what she wanted to do.
But then
she came back because she thought that they were going to be happily ever after.
Well, and I think she also came back because she wants the attention. She enjoyed watching all of this stuff unravel on TV.
She couldn't avoid it.
That's kind of what I'm saying, though.
And then she came back. She likes the attention when she comes back. Everybody's going to, you're safe. Everything's wonderful. And that's why I think she decides that she's going to have a kid, because she's going to get another media bump when they announce. She'll get another one when the kid's born. like she
It'll be
wants
kind of
that.
like the Amy
That's
in the
kind of what I'm
books, where
saying.
now
Yeah.
she's back in the public eye, but it's her telling the story now instead of
Mhm.
the parents in the
But
books.
what you said is kind of what I'm saying, though, is that now the attention is on him. And so she wanted the attention back on her. So this is part of the game. She created this big scene to shift it back on herself. And
Right,
keep
but
playing the game.
that won't explain why she actually wants to stay with him. Like if she has this kid, she's got him for another 18 years. So to me, she wants, and that's what she says. She comes back and she says,
She wants it
to
all.
him when they're going to have that interview, I need you to say you bought the stuff, and I need you to say something else, because then I will feel safe. She's the one who has to feel safe. Like this
Yep.
he is
Mhm.
fearing for every being of his body. Like he is scared of this woman.
So I watched this movie this time. My wife watched it again with me because she loves it, and she had forgotten pretty much all of it. It was kind of like Pete watching The Usual Suspects. she had forgotten like almost all stories, so she was totally engrossed, and she just loved it too. But she did bring up that she thinks there's one big plot hole at the end.
Okay.
That after what Amy went through with Desi and what she did to herself, that there's no way that she could have hypothetically gotten pregnant in the time that it said she got pregnant. That her body would not have been able to recover.
Well, that
in order to
interview,
do that. So
that interview they're having at the end is 7 months after she's back.
was it that much?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. Anyway, maybe
So
we didn't
there
see
you
the
go.
time, but that's what she was saying. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Um,
it's interesting to me. Like I've talked about how her parents tried to make her into the daughter they wanted. She tried to make this guy, into her boyfriend that she accused of rape, and the guy she wanted. Desi tried to control her into being, and that's what she's doing to Nick now at the end. Like he needs to be the husband. She's trying to form him into the man that she wants him to be, and it's so sick.
The ending of this is so dark and so depressing, but I
Mhm.
just love it. Like I just think it's just it just works.
Yeah.
Probably because neither character is likable and they're so awful to each other, so you don't mind. You're like, it's like they both got what they deserved and they deserve each other, and it feels like the only ending that can really work. The only bad thing about the ending is how much Margot had to go through. She's the one character whose life was like legitimately upended and probably won't be seen the same way when
Not
she did
any of
nothing
her
at all
fault.
wrong.
Yep.
Right.
No fault of her own.
I disagree that I think Nick got way more than he deserved. Obviously, cheating on your wife is a horrible, horrible thing. You need to fess up to that, get the dang divorce, get out of there, and that's horrible. You can't be cheating on your wife.
I
but
guess
that
that's
doesn't mean
where
you go to jail and be convicted
No,
of murder.
I agree. And that's where you could have a little sympathy for him because he was unless you don't believe him, that he was actually going to ask for that divorce that day.
Well, he was going to ask again, and then she dropped the pregnancy on him.
That's right.
So she keeps just keeping him on,
She
on
knew
her
it was
leash.
coming and she was playing the game. She was always one step ahead of him.
Mhm.
I'm telling you, that's why the game parallel. I'm going to stick to that.
That's fine. You can still
You're
I
be
outnumbered,
wrong.
but
That's
it
no
provides
problem.
a good contrast.
Sure.
I want to say that as soon as this movie ended, I turned on the regular TV, and the first commercial that came on the TV was for a new movie called The Killer, made by David Fincher. And I just thought, wow, that's crazy. So I just wrote that in my notes as well. So there's a movie by David Fincher coming out called The Killer. I think is it a Netflix movie? I don't remember, but I'm sure it'll be good.
Yeah.
So I've said pretty much everything I have to say. Any final thoughts, Pete? You're the first time watcher. Anything else here?
No, I thought it was a fantastic movie. It's just it kept you entertained. A lot of times a 2.5 hour movie, it's like there's going to be good parts, there's going to be boring parts. There was really no boring parts. It was all just very suspenseful. You had and plot twists. You had no idea how this movie was going to end. You didn't know. I thought for sure one of them was going to be dead. But you had no idea who, and then it turned out neither one of them actually died. And so I guess in that respect, it was a happy ending, but
we don't see much of the parents at the end. So I wonder how they're all taking this and how they fit into the new life.
You would think she would want to get away from him and at least get back to New York and get back to maybe her comfort zone. It's just absolutely crazy to me that she continues this farce with him and, decides to have a baby. Which
But
she
again,
never
it
wants
also
to.
shows
they could do a sequel of this movie, and it could be even more bonkers,
that
and it would be good.
also shows, though, once they moved to Missouri, like her life was gone. She literally had nothing to do.
Yep.
And so this is her life. And so she wants to, I mean, I can see how she just got so bored that this is good enough for her, that this is what she wants because she has no other option.
Which, again,
She could go to Branson.
options.
They had
Yeah.
the Dolly Parton stampede there. Anyway, go on.
She has multiple degrees. She's a Fulbright woman. Like,
Well, right.
you can't tell me she can't
I
get
know.
a job
Of course
somewhere.
she can.
That's the other thing that pisses me off about it. It's like, oh, I'm so bored. You're
trying to get into the mind of a psychopath
It's just
here.
yeah. Anyway,
Okay.
I loved it. I think it's awesome. So
I loved it. I was so happy to watch it again, and I'm going to read this book again too. I've decided, so I'll let you know when that happens. So, speaking of that, we are going to draft tonight. A draft that is movies based on books, and so I requested that, if possible at all, that you pick at least one or two movies where you actually read the book. But apparently, my co-hosts read even less than I thought. And so they don't have that.
I have one that I've actually read.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, there are.
I don't read.
I don't. It doesn't mean that I'll get to pick it, but there is at least one.
So I am going to make a reading center for podcast hosts that want to read good and learn to do other stuff good too.
Let's
and you'll
read
be my
good.
first.
Yes, if
Thanks,
you want
Derek.
to read good, so that you know English real good.
So the way I'm envisioning this is that you can pick obviously how you want, but like I'm going to pick the ones where I thought the movie and the book were great, where the movie adaptation is awesome and I'd love to watch it, as well as obviously like the book too. So those are the ones at the top of my list. Some of them, maybe the movie wasn't quite as good or, whatever. So I'm going to go first, then Giff, and then Pete. And no surprise here, I'm going to pick Gone Girl.
Okay.
That's a surprise. All right. Now, for the non-readers in the group here, the requirement that Brad made is that you at least need to know that the movie was based on a book for it to qualify.
That's the biggest thing.
So, for example, as much as I wanted to include a Princess Bride, the Princess Bride, I could not. I did not know that.
That came up for
didn't
me
know that.
too. Yeah, I didn't know it was a book.
Neither one of you knew that?
Until I
No.
was researching this.
Right. Yep.
Okay, good. Then you won't pick it.
So I'm not picking it. I am going to go with A Time to Kill by John Grisham.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
yes.
a good one. That was one that's on my list.
That's funny that when I was looking these up, I didn't see like any John Grisham books at all. And now that you said that, like that opens up a whole nother. I know.
You know
I
what?
haven't really.
I've forgotten. That's a book I've actually read too.
Oh, really?
I did read for a
Pete,
while.
I'm so proud of you.
I've read a number of John Grisham books, actually. I'll tell you that.
Okay, well, are you going to pick one?
No, I'm not. I'm going to go with Stephen King first.
Okay.
Shawshank Redemption.
I didn't think we could pick short
That's a short story, right?
Yeah.
It's a novella. My thing, that's why I asked. That
Oh, I
is
thought that was
listed as a
short story.
novella.
All right, I'll allow it then.
Okay, if you saw that it said novella, we did discuss that. I always thought it was a short story.
So did I.
Novella
That's why I
by
didn't have it on my
Stephen
list.
King.
Okay.
All right, well, I'm going to go with a stone cold classic, one that if you guys haven't read this book, then I don't even know where you've been. To Kill a Mockingbird is my second pick.
God dang it.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Which you go back to the Gregory Peck movie, and it is
Yep.
such a great movie based on a great book, and I love it.
Awesome. I had that on my list.
I kind of thought you probably would.
Yes. I am going to go with The Hunt for Red October by Tom Clancy.
Yeah, right. I'm so surprised when I was looking up books, because I mean, I guess maybe I didn't look that deep because I wrote down most of the ones that I knew myself.
Yeah, you don't need to research this because you read all the time and you watch movies. So
Right.
this
And I
is
haven't read any of those books. I've seen most of those movies, but I haven't read any
Sure.
of those books, so they wouldn't have come up anyway. But
Sure.
Now I can see where you guys have a lot of options.
We do have a lot of
Taking
options.
from those series and things.
Yes.
Is it my pick?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to pick one that I've said before is probably my favorite quote unquote serious movie of all time. Not comedy, but anybody know what I've said
Jaws.
before? I said it not long ago. Yes, Jaws.
It's a good one.
Love that movie. Anytime it's on, I have to sit and watch it. And it was obviously based on a book by Peter Benchley. And that book, actually, Peter Benchley spent the rest of his life saving sharks, like contributing his life to. He felt really, really guilty because he painted sharks in a negative light after that book and the movie came out, and people started hunting them, and the shark populations decreased, and so it was something he actually felt guilty about.
All right, I am going to go to Stephen King as well now.
Okay.
I'm going to pick Misery, which I read in high school
Nice.
after I saw the
I
movie.
hate you. That was high on my list.
That's one of the first like real books I read in high school, like on my own.
Excellent. No pictures or anything.
That's right.
I'm gonna stay with Mr. King. I'm gonna go with The Green Mile.
Okay. My next pick, I'm picking. There are other better movies out there, but I am picking this one because I did read the book and I loved it cover to cover, and I've read 2 of the sequels as well. I am going with the Da Vinci Code.
Okay.
Okay.
I figured. So you did read that.
I did read that. Yes.
Okay.
Couldn't put
And
it
I
down.
loved that movie when it came out, but I actually I put it off because I feel like, I don't know, something about it didn't age well. Like the movie isn't as respected as it was, but I did love it at the time, but
Yeah.
I moved other ones up above it. But it was high on my list. Like I said earlier, I love that book. It totally fascinated me when it came out.
Excellent. What do you got for your next one?
Oh, it's my turn.
It is your turn, Slick.
I'm going to pick a book that
weird.
another one that Pete would know because it's very near and dear to our group, and that is The Disaster Artist.
Huh.
About the making of The Room, that the movie The Disaster Artist with James Franco is from. Why did you have to think about that, Pete?
No, I didn't. I was just like, yeah, no, that's good. That works.
I am going to pick a movie that's near and dear to Pete's heart as well as Jenny's, and that is The Bourne Identity by Robert Ludlum.
Very, very well done. You know my wife.
I would like to point
well.
out that I have 4 authors in my books.
And
4 different.
You haven't read any of them.
No, but I'm showing that I'm covering a lot of ground here.
I do too.
All right. My next one is one that we have discussed on this show. It's really more of a series. I'm just going to take the series and put it as one pick, so you cannot take it. And this is another one that's very near and dear to my family. Harry Potter.
Okay, then.
I'm just saying, I'm not picking one book individually, but I'm just saying Harry Potter.
I had The Order of the Phoenix on my list.
I had The Sorcerer's Stone on my list. Because I think that's the only movie I've seen.
If you're going to make me pick one, I could do that, but.
No, that's fine. You're good. All right, Brad,
All right.
last pick.
I got so many here because you guys didn't take any of mine, so I don't know what to pick. I could go with another classic, or I could pick a more recent one. Well, this is my favorite author, so I'm going to pick. So I mentioned this book, I don't know, earlier. Maybe the movie came out this year, I think, because I just brought it up. This Is Where I Leave You.
Okay.
Oh.
Which is by Jonathan Tropper, who was my favorite author. He wrote five or six great books, and then he just does TV or something now. He hasn't written a book in forever, and that was a great book and a great movie with a great cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I mentioned it on probably the draft episode, I'm guessing.
Sure.
Yeah, we just watched that movie like a month and a half ago.
Oh, really?
Yep.
It's a great book. You can borrow it from me.
It's a great movie. I saw the movie. Don't need to read the book now.
All right, for my last pick, I'm going with a different author again. I'm not going to take the whole series, but I'll just mention one just so I don't take the whole series. But I'm going to take GoldenEye by Ian Fleming. All the Bond books that he wrote, those movies are awesome. But if I had to pick one, I'll just throw out GoldenEye.
It's fine. You can take the whole series if you want.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to take it.
There's only one pick left.
This is my last pick. I got to make this one count.
You made them all count.
Well, this is one that I found. I learned a lot about the book after the movie came out. Huge movie. One of the biggest movies of all time. Forrest Gump.
Yeah, see, I didn't know it was a book when I watched the movie, so I didn't include that one. I know it's a book now.
Gifford, you are very good about sticking to the rules and your guns, except for that one time with the Billboard charts.
For the Billboard charts, but I was still picking only things that came out in that year.
Yeah. So, okay, let me run through my others, and then we'll see what else you have. So where am I at here? So a book, a young adult novel from 10 years ago or so, The Fault in Our Stars, is a fantastic book and a great movie they made with what's her name? It's Ansel Elgort, I think, is the guy. She's in she was on Big Little Lies. I couldn't think of her name last time we talked about this. I can see her.
I can't think of her.
Anyway, The Fault in Our Stars.
Yeah.
I Love You, Beth Cooper is a great book and movie that was written by, I think, one of the Simpsons writers. It's a comedy, but it's like a teen, like a kind of like a Fast Times at Ridgemont High type of vibe teen movie. I did read in high school. It was called The Executioners, but they re-released the book when the movie came out. It was Cape Fear. So I read that book after the movie because I loved it so much. The one that I should have worked in somewhere, but I didn't. I can't believe I don't have The Great Gatsby on my list. That's what I was between.
I was sure that you even have a dog named Gatsby.
I went with To Kill a Mockingbird because I think it's an even better, more loved movie. I did love the new Great Gatsby, actually, but like the original one with Robert Redford, like I don't really care about the old stuff. So I did like the newest version. But To Kill a Mockingbird, I think overall is just slightly higher. I mentioned earlier, this is before we got on, Of Mice and Men is on my list with John Malkovich. Great movie, great book. The Princess Bride is on my list. I have not ever read that, though, but I have read a book by Carrie Elways about The Princess Bride, which is fantastic. You guys would like that one. The Perks of Being a Wallflower. That's one where I liked the movie better than the book, which is not common. But that's a great movie.
So we're going to have, when Brad releases our top fives, my wife, Courtney, is a voracious reader, and she would have liked to been on with us tonight to do this draft, but she is busy this evening. So she's actually going to put in 5 for voting on, and The Perks of Being a Wallflower is one of them that's on her list.
I forgot. I'm almost done here. Then you can read her list. I got The Hunger Games on here. I read the first book. Twilight, I got to mention that for my wife. I did read the first book, and it's okay. It's fine. I didn't read the rest of them. The Hate You Give is another one that we taught in school for several years. That is a great book. The movie is good. And then my last one, I had a hard time remembering if I read this in high school. I'm sure I did, though. So it could have jumped up higher, but because I don't remember it that well, the book, it dropped to lower. But so The Silence of the Lambs, I read that book too.
That was on my list, Brad.
So that is my list. The only book on that list I haven't actually read is The Princess Bride.
Okay.
But it deserved a mention anyway.
It did.
There's one on my list, Brad. I'm surprised you didn't have on yours. I'll say.
Well, what's that, Pete?
That would be based on the book Shoeless Joe by W.P. Kinsella.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Field of Dreams.
I read that book, and I read a lot more books in high school than I guess I thought, because I read Cape Fear, Misery, Silence of the Lambs, Shoeless Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. That definitely should be on my list.
I also had American Psycho, A Beautiful Mind, A Stand By Me, another Stephen King one based on the book The Body. The Star Wars
short story
series,
too, isn't it?
That's why I didn't say it. It says
novella
here.
Okay. Novella.
Let's see, the Star Wars movies. You could pick. That's a whole series that was all based on books. And The Firm is what I had on my
Oh.
list.
Yeah, I was wondering if somebody picked The Firm.
Yeah, I had that on my list as well. The only other ones I have, The Shining. Had to throw that on there. The Lord of the Rings, J.R.R. Tolkien, and then All the President's Men by Woodward and Bernstein.
Oh,
Excellent movie.
Okay, would you like to share your wife's list now? I'd like to hear it.
No, she has to pare it down.
What?
She's got
still
a
working
bunch.
on it, huh?
She's got a bunch that she needs to pare down. So I will get that to you, and people can vote on it on Twitter.
All right. Well, when we vote on Instagram, you can only have 3 choices, so I'm not going to include hers on that one. So,
well, the Twitter one we can have 4, so
yeah,
we'll throw it on Twitter.
Hey,
and you can have it up on Facebook too, can't you?
Yeah. Well, you can't vote. You just have to answer.
Right. Yep. Yes, Pete.
You know what band doesn't need to be pared down before we put it on our podcast?
Preacher Row.
That was a stretch.
Yeah, it was a stretch.
Not your best work.
I had another one that I was thinking of, but because you just said that, I thought maybe this will be good, and it wasn't.
You know what band they could write a great book about?
Preacher Row.
Oh yeah, they could. There you go. That's a better one. Thank you, Brad.
The stories they could tell.
The stories they could tell.
All right, the end.
All right.
Thanks for listening, folks.
The end. Well done.
No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your son is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. And start to me on my path. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared but there's nothing I can do.